My bridesmaid wore white to my wedding and called it her signature color. I told her to wear what she wanted. Then I quietly told her husband what she'd been doing, and that white dress turned out to be the only thing she had left. Brooke had been my best friend since 9th grade, which is honestly the only reason she made it into the bridal party at all. For 15 years, she'd had a gift for hijacking other people's moments and making them about herself. She announced her own engagement during the toast at my sister's graduation dinner. She showed up in a tiara at a christening and grinned for photos that weren't hers to be in. 2 weeks before my wedding, she called about the dress. I found the most gorgeous white gown. White is my signature color, you know that about me. I set my coffee down. Brooke, white, to my wedding. Oh my god, relax. Nobody's going to confuse a bridesmaid for the bride. You'll have a veil and a whole train. Don't go bridezilla over one little color choice. I told her plainly it would hurt, seeing her in white on the one day that was supposed to be mine. She accused me of being possessive over a color I didn't even own. When I suggested even a pale blush, she gasped like I'd told her to show up in a trash bag. I'm not squeezing into some sad pastel just so you feel like the only pretty one in the room. Friends support each other's vibe. Then she steamrolled straight into bachelorette weekend plans. I had 100 other fires to put out that month. Fighting her over this felt like one more than I could handle. Wear what you want, I told her. She lit up like I'd handed her a trophy. The day itself, Brooke swept in wearing a floor-length white gown, slid up the thigh, hair styled like she was the one walking down the aisle. She floated through the reception, collecting compliments like party favors. She wedged herself into every family photo and tilted her chin for every camera flash. During toasts, she stood up uninvited and told a long, winding story about herself that mentioned me exactly twice. When the bouquet went up, she shoved past 2 actual single women to snatch it out of the air, then raised it overhead like she'd caught the entire wedding itself. She told my photographer to make sure he caught her good side in the family shots, and corrected a great aunt who dared refer to her as one of the bridesmaids. Maid of honor energy at minimum, she said, clearly pleased with herself. My new husband Eli found my hand under the table. You okay? I'm fine, I told him. It's one day. She can have the dress. And I meant it. I decided well before the ceremony that a white gown wasn't worth even a sliver of my piece, and I was sticking to that. Around 9, I slipped out of the ballroom for air, away from the music and the heat and the spinning lights. The side hallway by the coat room was supposed to be empty. It wasn't. Brooke was pinned against the wall with a man who was very much not her husband, a guy named Reed from her office. Her white dress hiked up, his hands exactly where they had no business being. They sprang apart the second they heard my heels click on the tile. Brooke smoothed her hair like I'd just interrupted a phone call. Don't, she said, finger already aimed at me. This is none of your business. Owen doesn't need to hear about something that has nothing to do with him. You brought this into my wedding, I said, and you're not breathing a word of it. You owe me that much. We've been friends since we were 14. She fluffed her white skirt and lifted that same chin from all my photos. Go enjoy your little party and forget you saw anything at all. She said it the way she'd said everything for 15 years, fully confident I'd fold. The way I always folded, because I was the one who'd let her wear white in the first place to keep the peace. For 1 second, she actually looked relieved, certain she'd handled me. I did go back inside. I walked straight past the dance floor, past the cake table, to the quiet corner where Owen sat nursing a drink, checking his watch, waiting on a wife who kept disappearing all night. No crowd around us, no raised voice. I leaned in close enough that only he'd hear. Owen, Brooke's in the side hallway by the coat room with a man named Reed, and from the way she talked, it's not the first time. You deserve to hear this tonight, and I'm sorry it has to come from me. Owen didn't move at first. His face went still, like someone had pulled a plug and everything stopped running at once. No raised voice, no standing up. He sat there for what felt like a full minute, then set his glass down so carefully it barely made a sound. When he finally met my eyes, there was no shock in them. Something worse than shock. Recognition. Which hallway? He asked, not really a question, more like a man asking for directions to a place he already knew existed. I told him. The side hall by the coat room, past the double doors on the left. He nodded once, slow and steady. Thank you, he said, and I could tell saying it cost him something. Then he stood, straightened his jacket, and walked off from the table like a man going to confirm something he'd already suspected for months. No rush in his step, no anger in his shoulders, just a tired, quiet kind of purpose that made my chest tighten. I made my way back to Eli at our sweetheart table. The dance floor was packed, the lights low. His hand found mine the second I sat. What happened? You were gone a while. I leaned close to his ear. I told him what I'd seen in the hallway and what I'd just told Owen. Eli didn't flinch, didn't ask if I was sure. He squeezed my hand, firm and warm. You did the right thing. He deserved to know. For a few minutes, nothing happened. The band shifted from a slow song into something upbeat. Guests danced. Someone laughed loud enough to bounce off the ceiling. A kid ran between tables chasing a balloon. For a moment, it almost felt like the night might just swallow the whole thing whole. No ripple at all. I watched Eli's profile in the dim light and let myself believe it might actually be fine. Then the music cut out. Owen's voice carried out from the hallway near the coat room, straight into the ballroom, sharp enough to slice clean through the bass and the chatter and the clinking glasses. How long, Brooke? Tell me how long. Each word landed like a door slamming shut. The nearest guest froze mid-step on the dance floor. A woman in blue stopped with her champagne glass halfway to her mouth. The drummer looked up from his kit. I watched the doorway, fingers locked around Eli's, and felt the whole room tilt toward that hallway like a boat taking on water from one side. Then Brooke's voice answered, high and tight and already performing. Owen, stop it. You're embarrassing yourself. Whoever told you that is lying. Owen's reply came back flat and calm, and somehow that was worse than yelling. I watched Reed sprint out the fire exit with his tie in his hand. Try again. A ripple moved through the room, not a gasp, just a shift. Couples leaning in toward each other. A few guests near the hallway door stepping back. Someone slid into the chair beside me. My sister Ilaria, appearing the way she always does the moment something starts going wrong, still holding a plate with a slice of cake on it, eyes locked on the hallway door. What's happening? She whispered. I gave her the short version. Brooke? The hallway? Reed? Owen? Ilaria's eyes went wide first, then narrowed. I know exactly what that look means. It means she'd moved past surprise and straight into the part where she starts keeping score. She wore white to your wedding and brought her affair partner, she said, quiet but sharp. On your actual wedding day. I nodded. Ilaria set the cake plate down and gripped my arm, not gentle, not rough, just firm. Don't let her flip this on you, she said. I've watched her pull that move 100 times. At my graduation dinner, she turned the whole night into her engagement announcement and you just smiled through it. Tonight she doesn't get to rewrite anything. She held my gaze, and something clicked into place between us. The kind of thing that happens when someone finally says out loud the thing you've been thinking for years but never had the nerve to put into words. Brooke stormed through the hallway doorway into the ballroom, with Owen 2 steps behind her. That perfect white dress was wrinkled now, creased down the front, hair coming loose on one side, strands falling out of whatever careful style she'd spent the morning building. She crossed the dance floor in 4 hard strides, guests parting out of her path. She stopped in front of our table, close enough that I could see mascara smudging under her left eye. You told him, she said, loud enough for the 3 nearest tables to catch every syllable. On your wedding night, you decided to blow up my marriage? I stayed in my seat. I looked at her the way you look at someone when you're finally done pretending. You blew up your own marriage, Brooke. I just told him what I saw. For half a second, something close to fear crossed her face. Then she pivoted toward the watching guests, and her whole body shifted, shoulders dropping, chin trembling, eyes filling with tears that caught the candlelight just right, voice cracking in exactly the right places. The kind of crying that looks beautiful instead of messy. She's always been jealous of me, Brooke announced to the room. Always. She couldn't stand that I looked good tonight, so she made up a story to punish me. That's all this is. A few guests shifted uncomfortably in their seats. I caught 2 of Eli's relatives trade a look. An older woman at the next table set down her napkin and stared at the floor. Then Owen stepped forward from where he'd been standing quietly behind her, watching her perform. When he spoke, his voice was so flat and even it made the air feel heavier. Then explain why Reed ran, he said. Explain why he won't answer his phone. He paused. Explain the text I just found, since you left your phone in your coat pocket. I watched that land. A flinch she tried covering by pressing her lips together and blinking fast. The tears were still there, but they'd stopped working, because Owen was standing right behind her with facts now, and the room could feel the difference between a woman who'd been wronged and a woman who'd been caught. Brooke found a new target. She marched straight to our sweetheart table, planted both hands on the edge, and leaned toward Eli. Her voice shifted softer now, concerned, like a friend doing him a favor. Eli, you need to talk to your wife. She's trying to destroy a 15-year friendship over a dress. She's been obsessing over my outfit all night instead of enjoying her own wedding. Does that seem normal to you? She tilted her head the way she does when she wants somebody to feel sorry for her. My stomach tightened, because this was the move she'd run 100 times getting to me through the people I loved, hoping I'd start doubting myself. Eli looked at her with a calm, steady expression, like he was watching someone fumble with the wrong key in a lock. My wife told Owen the truth because it was the right thing to do, he said. If we're talking about what's normal, maybe start with why you brought another man to someone else's wedding. Her mouth opened, and nothing came out. Something cracked in her expression, not the pretty, rehearsed kind of cracking she'd performed for the crowd all night, but something real and ugly underneath it. The look of someone who's run out of people left to manipulate in a room full of witnesses. Her composure broke for the first time all night, and she grabbed my arm hard, fingers digging into the skin above my elbow, dragging me toward the bathroom hallway. We need to talk. Alone. Now. Part of me wanted to pull free and stay at the table with my husband, but a bigger part wanted this finished. Done with her. Done with 15 years of swallowing things that tasted bad. So I followed. The bathroom was small and bright, one of those single occupancy rooms with a lock. Brooke shut the door and flipped the latch. The instant that door closed, the tears stopped. Just like that. Her face went dry and still. Her eyes hardened. Her voice dropped into something cold and flat I'd never once heard from her in 15 years. Take it back, she said. Go out there and tell Owen you were confused. Tell him you saw someone else. I looked at her standing there in that wrinkled white dress under the harsh bathroom light no crowd left to perform for, and I said no. Simply. Once. I didn't look away. No. She leaned in close enough that I could smell her perfume mixed with champagne. Remember junior year? She said. Remember what you told me about your mom, the thing nobody else knows? She let those words sit between us, heavy and sharp. I knew exactly what she meant. I'd told her that thing on a night when I was 16 and frightened, and she was the only person I trusted with it. She'd kept it tucked away for 15 years like a coin in her pocket, waiting for the perfect moment to spend it. I will tell everyone at this reception. I will tell Eli. I will make sure every single person out there remembers tonight for what you did, not what I did. That old familiar urge rushed in so fast I nearly choked on it, the instinct to fold, to smooth it over, to hand her what she wanted just so the danger would pass. The same feeling I'd had 2 weeks before the wedding when she dropped the white dress bombshell. The same one from my sister's graduation dinner. Every single time, for 15 straight years, keeping the peace had meant letting Brooke win. For 1 second, I almost said okay. Instead, I planted my feet on that cold bathroom tile and felt something settle. No big dramatic moment, just a quiet click, like a door that had been rattling in the wind for 15 years finally shutting for good. Go ahead, I said, voice steady, which surprised even me. Tell them whatever you want. But Owen already has your phone. He has the texts. There's nothing left for me to take back that undoes what's already sitting in his hands. I watched those words travel across her face the way a crack spreads through glass, small at first, then fast. She hadn't known about the phone. I could see it plainly. She'd left it in her coat pocket when she snuck off to that hallway, and Owen had found it. Now every message, every text, every word she'd sent over however many months sat right in her husband's hands. I watched. the math run behind her eyes. "No," she said, and her voice cracked for real this time. "No, he doesn't have my phone. I had it in my bag." "You had it in your coat," I said, "and Owen has it now." She shoved past me hard enough that my shoulder hit the bathroom wall. Then she was gone, door swinging open, heels clicking fast against the tile as she ran back toward the ballroom. I stood there alone in that bright little bathroom. I pressed a hand flat against my chest, felt my heart racing, took one long breath, and followed her out. The reception I walked back into wasn't the one I'd left. The band had gone quiet. Owen sat at a round table near the back. Brooke's phone lit up on the table in front of him, scrolling through it slowly with one finger, face completely blank, not angry, not sad, just blank like a man reading something he already knew was true but needed to see with his own eyes anyway. Guests had clustered into small groups around the room, leaning together, whispering. Ilaria appeared at my side. "Brooke just told 3 different people you made the whole thing up because you're jealous of her marriage. She's working the room." I looked across and could see it clearly. Brooke moving table to table, touching arms, dabbing her eyes with a cocktail napkin, scattering little broken phrases through the room. She's always been like this. I don't know why she'd be so cruel. Owen stood up, holding Brooke's phone, and crossed the ballroom to where she was mid-sentence with a group of my cousins. She didn't see him until he was right beside her. He held the phone up, screen facing outward. 7 months, Brooke. 7 months of messages. You still want to tell people she made this up? His voice wasn't loud, but it carried. Everyone within 15 feet went completely still. Brooke's hand shot out for the phone. Owen pulled it back. "Easy," he said, like he'd already expected the grab. "We're done," he told her, calm enough that it barely sounded real. "I'll be at the hotel. Don't bother coming tonight." He turned and walked toward the exit, and as he passed our table, he paused. His eyes were red but dry, jaw set tight. "I'm sorry this happened at your wedding," he said. "Thank you for being honest with me." I nodded. He left. The ballroom door clicked shut behind him, somehow louder than anything else that had happened all night. Brooke stood alone in the middle of the dance floor. Her white dress hung wrinkled and creased, mascara running in dark streaks down both cheeks, hair half fallen and hanging in her face. No husband behind her now, no Reed waiting in the wings, no sympathetic faces turned her way. She stood alone in that white dress in the middle of my wedding, and everyone in that room could see her clearly, maybe for the very first time in 15 years. She looked at me across the empty dance floor. Her voice had shrunk down to something small, stripped of everything except the edge. "You ruined everything. 15 years and you threw it all away over nothing." I waited for the anger to hit, or some flood of satisfaction, some big feeling to match the scale of what had just happened. It never came. What I felt instead caught me off guard. Just exhaustion. A deep, bone-level tiredness, like I'd been hauling something heavy for years and had finally set it down. Brooke wasn't finished though. She walked over to the band set up at the stage's edge, picked a microphone off its stand, and tapped it twice. The speakers squealed with that sharp feedback sound that cuts through everything, and every head in the room turned toward her. She stood there in that ruined white dress under the reception lights, mascara streaked, chin lifted exactly the way she'd lifted it for every stolen photo that night. "I just want to say something," she announced, voice shaking through the speakers, caught somewhere between rage and tears. "I've been best friends with the bride since we were 14 years old, and tonight, on her wedding night, she decided to destroy my entire life because she couldn't handle me wearing a white dress." She stopped, paused the exact way she always paused after saying something she thought sounded powerful, waiting for the room to rush in and agree, waiting for gasps, sympathy, arms reaching out to comfort her. None of it came. The room sat in silence. Not awkward silence, not confused silence, just stillness. Like every person in that ballroom had already heard enough, already seen enough, and there was nothing left for Brooke to sell them. Ilaria stepped forward. My sister moved out of the cluster of guests near our table and stood where everyone could see her clearly. When she spoke, her voice came out clear, steady, and loud enough that she needed no microphone at all. "Brooke, you announced your engagement at my graduation dinner. You wore a tiara to a christening. You wore white to my sister's wedding. And tonight you brought the man you've been cheating with as your +1. She let each sentence land on its own, one after another, like stones set carefully onto a scale. Nobody here is confused about who ruined what. A low murmur rolled through the guests. I watched heads nod, small and quiet, the kind of nod people give when someone finally voices the thing everyone's been silently thinking all night. I looked around the room at people I'd known my whole life, watching them look at Brooke. Not the way they'd looked at her all evening, with polite smiles and dress compliments. The way you look at someone when a picture that never quite made sense suddenly snaps into focus, and what you see isn't at all what you thought it was. Brooke's hand dropped from the mic. She scanned the room once more, table by table, hunting for one friendly face, one small crack in the wall. Reed was long gone, out the fire exit an hour earlier. Owen was gone too, heading toward a hotel room she wasn't welcome in. The room was full of people who'd just heard her own husband confirm 7 months of lies while she stood there crying about a dress. Brooke set the microphone down on the stage's edge. She bent down, gathered the hem of her white dress in both hands, and walked out of the ballroom without another word. Her heels clicked against the floor, the sound fading smaller and smaller until it vanished completely. Nobody followed her. The band started up again a few minutes later, something slow and soft. Eli stood from our table and held out his hand. "Come on," he said. He pulled me onto the dance floor and wrapped both arms around me tight. "This is still our night," he said, close to my ear. It always was. We danced. Guests drifted back to their seats. Someone laughed loud enough to carry over the music. The kid with the balloon ran past us again. The night stitched itself back together the way nights do once the worst part has passed, and people remember why they came in the first place. Later, I stepped outside onto the patio under the string lights. Ilaria appeared with a glass of champagne and handed it over without a word. 3 weeks later, Owen filed for divorce. I found out on a Tuesday. Ilaria texted me 2 words and I read them, and set my phone down.